like to explain to you why it's so important that you have an experienced litigator handling your DUI case. A lot of attorneys are great trial lawyers, but not every DUI case goes to trial. And there's a lot of things that a litigator and somebody who's in court on a daily basis or a weekly basis can really help you out with and can catch in your DUI. Here's an example. Recently we were in court. The client accepted a plea agreement and the client pled guilty. The court then handed the clerk all of the paperwork that the judge had filled out. The clerk then typed up the trial summary of what the client pled guilty to, what the sentence was, and what the probation conditions were. I got that paperwork and reviewed it as my client was signing it. And I noticed one specific thing, that the verdict said guilty and not probation before judgment. My client had received a probation before judgment and not a guilty verdict. I then asked the bailiff to give the paperwork back to the clerk. The clerk told us that there was nothing they could do because what the judge had written down was not probation before judgment. I then went back and asked the state's attorney's office to recall the case so we could correct this error on the record. The case was recalled and the judge noticed the mistake that they had made. They quickly fixed it, handed the paperwork back to the clerk, and the clerk printed out a new trial summary indicating that the verdict was a probation before judgment and not a guilty. Now, why is this important? Because if the client had gotten a guilty verdict, they would have received 12 points on their driver's license. And this would have generated an issue with the MVA. The MVA would have sent a letter to the client and tried to suspend their license. So it's very important that you have an experienced litigator, someone who's in court, someone who understands what to look for, and someone who makes sure that your paperwork is correct before you leave the courtroom.